Hello and welcome to Spew the Snews, your sports information show for you sports dummies out there, and even more for the hardcore fans as well. We've got something for everyone. Tonight it is myself, Zack Owens, your lovable host, as well as the sports dummy, the lovable, losable Uncle Mark Owens.
Sports Dummy Mark Owens reporting for duty.
You ready to be educated in the ways of this sporting news?
I am, and I found that a little sports knowledge is dangerous, and that the more you have, the more you want. And I'm less of a dummy this year than I have ever been, thanks to you, Zach.
You are like Adam in the Garden of Eden, gotten that little bit of that apple-y nugget of sports knowledge, and you just now all of a sudden are like, more information,
I'm
more.
a blank slate. I'm a tabula rosa.
All right. Unfortunately, we are not joined by our third member of the party, Nathan Oliver. He's currently on the road from a baseball game he played in.
Yeah, he's living the sports instead of just talking about them like us.
That's right. He's living the dream. His team actually won on a suicide squeeze in the ninth inning. I believe the bottom of the ninth, I'm guessing. Now, anybody, Mark, you want to go through the suicide squeeze? Do you still have that up?
I tried the suicide squeeze on a date in high school, and it didn't work.
Remember,
I looked it up. I looked it up on Wikipedia, Zach. So I can now tell you what a suicide squeeze is.
All right.
It is when a base runner is on third base, and you sacrifice to get him home, like a sacrifice bunt. But what makes it a suicide squeeze is he leaves the base knowing in advance, I guess based on the signal, that it's going to be a bunt. And if the guy misses it and essentially strikes on the bunt, then this player's doomed. So you only do it when the bunter is well skilled.
All right.
Did that sum it up?
Yeah, that was perfect. I was just about to say that leads perfectly into our Spew the Snooze, our Sports for Dummies segment. About 2 to 3. Hopefully, we'll get it down to 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes of the information that you sports dummies need to know, so that you can sound sports smart in front of the water cooler, talking with friends, family, coworkers, whatever. So let's get it started. First off, important news, Major League Baseball playoffs have started this week after the storybook run that the Tampa Bay Rays have. Remember, that's the team that beat the New York Yankees in extra innings on a walk-off home run to get into the playoffs after the Boston Red Sox collapsed. Their run is over. They lose to the Texas Rangers 4-3 in Game 4. And Texas wins the series 3-1, so that storybook ending, not so storybook, not Disney. Great run into the playoffs, but it ended early.
Right,
also
so
going on,
it could make a Disney television episode, but not like a Disney movie.
Right, the Disney movie, it's like Old Yeller.
Right, he dies in the end.
That's right, yeah, he dies at the end.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Cover your kids' ears. Tell them that we're lying. So, all right. So in the other 3 games, in the other AL game, the Yankees versus the Tigers, the Yankees down 2-1 in Game 4 Tuesday night, sent A.J. Burnett, the embattled pitcher, to the mound. Burnett only gave up 1 run as the Yankees won 10-1 to force a series-deciding Game 5, which is going on right now, tonight. The starters are rookie Ivan Nova for the New York Yankees. He's just a rookie. That's big pressure on a rookie for the Yankees, the life of the Yankee season on his shoulders. And a pitcher acquired in a trade at the trade deadline by the Detroit Tigers, Doug Fister. And if the score is still there, it's 2-0 around the bottom of the 4th inning. Detroit Tigers are winning. So that's interesting that both the Yankees and Red Sox, probably the 2 favorites in the American League, might be out before the championship series in the AL. On the NL side of things, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Philadelphia Phillies, the NL East winners, which is the Philadelphia Phillies, and the wild card winners, the St. Louis Cardinals, who also got in on the last night of the season, are playing. They are currently tied in their series 2-2, and they will finish their playoff series tomorrow night at Philadelphia. The Cardinals won the last game on Wednesday to force this Game 5. They won 3-2. No, I'm sorry, 5-3. Excuse me. It was 3-2, I believe. The Phillies tied it up, and then it was 3-2, and then St. Louis got 2 runs, and Philadelphia made it a little bit closer. But That game is going to go to a deciding Game 5. And the Brewers and Diamondbacks, surprisingly, is also going to go to a deciding Game 5, only because the Milwaukee Brewers, the NL Central champs, they were up 2-0. The Arizona Diamondbacks have come back and won the past 2 games to tie the series at 2 apiece. The final and deciding Game 5 will be played tomorrow night as well, along with the Phillies and the Cardinals. So that's the Major League Baseball playoffs going on in the results.
So how many teams are left in it right now?
Let's see.
Like 6?
7 teams.
7 teams.
Well, I mean, one team's already been eliminated, the Rays.
Right, and it's only 7 because there's one game going on right now.
Correct, yes. So as soon as the Yankees-Tigers game finishes, whatever the score is, they will be
6.
2 in the AL, and then the 4 teams in the NL will have their deciding Game 5s tomorrow night. So games are going, end of the season had some drama to it. It looks like these playoffs also are already having some drama to it as well. The NBA seems to be lurching ever more slowly towards a lost season due to the lockout. Both sides, owners and players, not really making any ground through talks. A lot of players talking about playing overseas, talking about contracts, actually, literally sitting down with foreign teams and drafting up contracts to play overseas during the lockout.
I actually know a little bit about this. I heard a bit on it on Marketplace this morning, and they talked about how this happened in hockey a number of years ago, and that although they lost the season of hockey, the owners essentially did get what not everything they wanted, but a significant jump in their portion of the whole thing, and that there's a number of hardcore owners that are both hockey team owners and basketball team owners, and they feel that those guys are the ones that are really the hardcore ones that won't give in.
Right. Well, that's one of the interesting things is that the players get, and this is a little bit more in-depth, players get 57 out of the 43 revenue split or something like that. Yes. If you think about it, the NFL was like 48-52 in favor of the owners or something.
Yeah.
And the players almost had so that, the owners want to really reel that back in the NBA. The players, of course, don't want to give up what they've got.
I think it's a gamble. I don't think the NBA is popular enough, and that they're risking really, really losing a lot of fans. I don't know. I just don't think I don't hear people talk about or watching basketball all that much, and a lost season could really kind of suck for them. I think it's a dumb idea.
Yeah, this is going to be a problem. The issue is the owners are being a little bit too stingy. They've been losing money. They kind of want to come out economically on top, regardless of anything else. The players. There are a good number of players who make way too much money, honestly. There are a good number of players who are, 8th, 9th, 10th men who are making, $7 to $10 million a year.
But that's some owner's fault. I mean, somebody made the decision to do that.
I mean, the owners have dug their own grave. But the players, of course, aren't going to say, no, it'll be okay. We'll give back the money. So it's one of those, stupid stalemates. So we'll see what happens there. But it does look like if you want to watch your favorite players, you're going to have to watch them in foreign international games. Speaking of hockey, the NHL will be starting soon. I had it in my head and I forgot. The defending Stanley Cup champs, it'll come to me.
Penguins.
Oh, God. No.
Canadians.
No. Wow. Oh, this is horrible for me. Oh, I feel like such an idiot.
Tampa Bay Lightning.
No, but you're close. They actually made the playoffs and almost made the Stanley Cup. One little tidbit: Ted Leonsis, the owner of the Washington Wizards. He's the owner of the Washington Capitals and took over as owner of the Washington Wizards, if memory serves. So he's one of those guys that went through the NHL lockout, and
right, and he's a hardliner now.
Yep.
Don't tell me it was the Capitals that won, because I would have known that.
No, it's the Boston Bruins. Oh. I can't believe I forgot that. And
I wouldn't have known that.
And I continue to alienate all of the fans in the Northeast due to my love for the Cowboys, and now I couldn't remember that the Bruins won the hockey.
Oh, man.
So they'll start their defense of the NHL Stanley Cup, and that's starting tonight, actually. So NHL and other
their playoffs are happening? So hockey season's already in play right now? No, hockey season's just starting up.
Hockey season's just starting tonight, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so they've got a long grind ahead of them, but think of it this way. Think of the boon that hockey might get if basketball doesn't come on, because NBA and AHL kind of, in a way, compete at the same time. especially once football ends.
Yeah, but I don't picture them being the same type of people. I don't know why, but I picture your hockey fan being also a basketball fan.
Right. Well, that's a good point.
Maybe. I don't know.
You never know. Well, I mean, hockey, NBA fans looking for something to watch, sporting-wise, might watch hockey. You never know.
That's right.
But we'll see what happens. Eagles and Cowboys in the NFC East. Two teams had high expectations. Both teams struggling. The Eagles a surprising 1-3. The Cowboys 2-2. Their two losses coming on self-destructs. The two wins on gutful. What would be the word? I don't know. Really tough games. Well played, whatever. So
sorry, I'm not helping
about
you
that.
here,
I know you're not. I'm trying to get the words. They're just not coming out tonight. The Packers and Lions both 4-0. They actually don't play until either week 10 or 11 or maybe even 12. So they could both be, because they're in the same division, they'll play twice. So I just find it interesting. They could both be like double-digit wins, undefeated, before they have to play each other. So only one of those teams will be undefeated, but those are the only two undefeated teams left. The Bills fell to the Bengals on a last-second field goal, so the Bills are now 3-1, still do lead the AFC East. Brett Favre has resurfaced. Okay, get this. He says that
Somebody find him in a mall in Wisconsin?
He had some interview on a Mississippi radio station. One of his first in a long time. He says he's fine not playing. He said, kind of in a backhanded compliment type of way, he's surprised it took Aaron Rodgers so long to win a Super Bowl, the guy that took over as QB for the Packers.
Yeah, he's good. I like him. It's kind of amazing that they went from Brett Favre to him. They've been some good luck at quarterback.
They have. The Packers fans have been blessed, yes. They have. Update on college football. Missouri Tigers in the Big 12. Yes, in the Big 12 is hoping. There's a report that they're hoping to be admitted to the SEC. That would mean that they would join Texas A&M to the SEC, another Big 12 school. So it looks like that more and more that some conferences, the Big East and the Big 12, to name a few, are kind of dissolving, or will have to take in a bunch of smaller school teams to remain living, while these bigger divisions, the SEC and the Pac-12, to name a few, are just growing into these super conferences. The Red River rivalry, big football rivalry, starts this weekend. Texas versus Oklahoma. Huge. Both teams are undefeated right now. Oklahoma, the number 3 team in the nation now. Alabama jumped them to number 2. I don't believe Oklahoma played last week. Alabama, meanwhile, absolutely crushed Florida, which was the number 8 or number 9 team in the nation. But Oklahoma versus Texas, always a very heated rivalry. I mean, they're border states, all that stuff goes on. So that's a big game going on this weekend. And like I said, Alabama jumps to number 2 as the SEC dominates, again, the number 1 team in the nation, LSU. There's like 4 or 5 SEC teams in the top 10 or 15. Maybe that's why all these teams want to get into the SEC.
How's Virginia Tech doing?
They are... I actually don't know.
Okay. I'm like sort of a student there, so I kind of thought I would ask, but I don't know.
Well, I can look that up real quick. But anyway, well, I've got the internet in front of me. It's like
right.
I don't have to
fingertips.
spend
That's where
time.
we are today.
No. So, in-depth news. I want to get in a little bit. Unfortunately, I kind of rely on Nathan as our bit of a baseball expert compared to me. I do know a good amount about baseball, but Nathan kind of lives, breathes, and eats it.
You know who else knows about baseball? Wikipedia.
Yes.
You know all about them.
I know. I'm thankful that Wikipedia knows what a suicide squeeze is. Otherwise, I would have been, the first minute of this show would have been about 10 minutes of me rambling for an hour trying to explain it. Virginia Tech is 4-1 and just lost to number 23 Clemson. Or number 13 Clemson, 23.
Virginia or Virginia Tech?
Virginia Tech.
So that makes them what? I'm sorry. They're doing well? They're not doing well?
They're doing very well.
Oh, good.
Yes.
See?
So,
there you go.
Yep. So
it's a bit of support.
Got to make certain. Oh, and Syracuse. We'll look at Syracuse because Syracuse is my team.
All right.
Syracuse, who won their game because of, I believe they lost in double overtime to Rutgers. Yeah. Ooh. They lost at home to Rutgers, bit of a rival, 19-16 in double overtime.
So Syracuse didn't do overtime in football for college.
They do it differently than NFL. College football is basically each team gets the ball at the 25, and you have, so one team gets the ball at the 25, and you you've got the ball and you get to do whatever you want, And it's at your opponent's 25, so it's 25 yards to the end zone. So you get to, try and score, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, whatever.
Right.
So then the other team gets the ball at the opponent's 25 with 25 yards to go to the end zone, and they have to, it's that whole, it gives both teams a chance type of mentality.
So at what point is it a tie?
It never ties in college football.
Wow.
I mean, I guess you could say that if it goes on, long enough, they could call the game, but that's never happened, from my understanding.
Alrighty then.
Yes, so they've actually been discussing, as we get into in-depth news, away from our Sports for Dummies segment. I think that was still a little bit long for Sports for Dummies, but anyway.
Hey, when you got a real dummy, what can you do?
Well, you know what? I say 2 to 4 minutes, and it always turns out to be like 8 minutes. But hey, you know what? You're getting a good amount of information for only 8 minutes. I think that works out pretty well.
Right. And it's all free.
It is free. Free info. Hey, and you know what? All you have to do is listen to / download the podcast,
That's
and
right.
you get to, no work really
subscribe
involved.
to our podcast, and you'll get the next episode in your sleep.
For free. Yeah.
No
How about
sponsors.
that?
You don't have to pay to get this sponsor.
No commercials either. Oh, we are giving you such a great deal. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies.
That's right.
We'll take everybody.
That's right.
But yeah, there's been talk in the NFL of doing that. I think they actually changed the rules for the playoffs. I think both teams get a possession in overtime now, and then it turns into sudden death in the playoffs.
In NFL?
For the NFL, yeah.
Wow.
I believe. I'm not absolutely certain, but...
Well, you heard it here folks. Folks.
You know. First, folks. Folks first.
We are the first folks.
Yes. So the MLB playoffs. A little bit of let me go back to ESPN and see. Refresh. It's now 3-0. Detroit up on the Yankees in the middle of the fifth. That's a bit of a surprise. The Yankees starting pitching a bit of a question, but a lot of people thought that they would. I think that while this wouldn't be a monumental upset. I do think that this would be a minor upset. The Tigers over the Yankees, and of course, any time the Yankees or Red Sox lose, it's a big deal. So
the town of Detroit finally has something to be happy about.
Yes,
Awesome.
I know. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's only the middle of the fifth. If the Yankees come back and crush them, it's only another thing for Detroit to, feel bad about.
Yeah.
But setting them up to fail. One of the bigger things, the Rays, like I said, the storybook ending has ended for them. Again, a surprise because they were considered, since they got into the playoffs, the team in the whole kit and caboodle. Everyone thought that they had the best starting pitchers in the playoffs, AL or NL. And they still lost 3-1 against the Texas Rangers, who a lot of people, I think, while they weren't saying that they weren't going to, win, they couldn't win, I think some people had kind of mentally written off without saying it out loud and could kind of made the Rays a little bit of a, because of that storybook ending at the end of the season to get into the playoffs, their starting pitching, which was stacked. I think people kind of were like, ooh, the Rays are gonna probably do well. Surprisingly, the Rangers kind of just pushed the Tampa Bay Rays aside. The Rangers almost made this World Series last year. No, they did. They did make the World Series last year, I think. I'm sorry. I can't remember.
Don't look to me for confirmation. What sport are we on again?
Hey, we're on baseball. Hey, I know who won the World Series last year, right? It's the San Francisco Giants. And I'm pretty certain they beat the Texas Rangers.
Well done. Nate, where are you, Nate?
I know, right? He'd be all over this. I wouldn't have to think or look anything up. Dang it, Nate. You had to have your stupid baseball game. So, yeah. So, going into the NBA lockout with the playoffs. Oh, sorry. One more thing. The Cardinals being tied with the Phillies is not a huge surprise to me either. The Phillies have kind of slowed down. They were considered a juggernaut, one of the most talented teams in the baseball. But I don't want to say, I'm a Mets fan, so this may sound a little bit stupid to say since the Mets are choke artists, and the Red Sox and Braves basically had choke jobs, larger than anything the baseball season has ever seen. But the Phillies don't strike me exactly as a team that scares me. They're a very good team. They have a chance to win the World Series, of course, talent-wise. But I wouldn't at all be surprised if the Cardinals, who just seem to always get by on grit, determination, and Albert Pujols, one of the best players in baseball, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals pull off, again, a mini upset and beat the Philadelphia Phillies.
I was actually in St. Louis, downtown near the Arch, for a business meeting this year, and it happened to be a game night. Of course, I'm clueless. I'm like, geez, it finally hit me that everybody was wearing red. I couldn't figure out why. I was like 2 blocks from the stadium where I was staying. I was like, I get it. There's a baseball game.
Baseball is big in St. Louis, I mean,
they were hardcore. And then I went out with our uncle Terry, and of course they all were watching. Where we were in the restaurant, the game was on, and everybody was paying attention.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing about that is Albert Pujols, first baseman. Have you heard of Albert Pujols?
No.
No? Albert Pujols. He is a machine. He is probably the best hitter in baseball right now, considered one of the best hitters in the league's history.
Wow.
He plays first base for the St. Louis Cardinals. His contract is up at the end of this season.
So he's shopping.
Because St. Louis is a bit of a smaller market team. There are a lot of questions as to whether or not he stays in St. Louis or another team that needs a first baseman or just wants one of the best
big
hitters.
Hitter, right?
Right. We'll snatch him up for a huge deal. So that's one of those. It's one of those. Will the St. Louis Cardinals keep him or not? Is it going to be his last game as a Cardinal? Blah blah blah. So
you're always asking, is he the kind of guy who actually cares about the city he lives in and works something out, or will he be shopped around?
Right. Is he going to give a what do we call it, a home count discount?
Right.
Or
is he all about the money? Is it really the difference between $10 million a year and 12? Come on.
Yeah. Everything that I've heard, of course, through like media and whatnot, from Albert Pujols makes me say that he will give a home count discount, that hometown discount to the Cardinals, and probably will stay there as long as they don't, completely lowball him or anything.
He called me the other day, and he said that he's definitely staying in St. Louis. He's just bluffing to get more money.
Oh, okay.
So be reassured.
Good. St. Louis fans just had a huge exhale of relief right there.
I'm sure they're all listening.
Oh yes, they're all listening to this as they prepare for tomorrow night's game.
That's right.
Because we're such baseball fanatics. we Wikipedia what a suicide squeeze is.
Yeah. Did we say that out loud?
I have no idea what you're talking about. So the other playoff game for baseball, Arizona Diamondbacks against the Milwaukee Brewers. Again, this is one of those games. The Brewers were up 2-0, 2 games to none against the Diamondbacks in a best-of-5. A lot of people wrote off Arizona. I mean, most people would write off any team that's down 2 games to none in a best-of-5 series. The Diamondbacks, though, have come back to tie the game tie the series 2-2. Final, all the marbles. Game 5 will be tomorrow at 5:07 p.m. It's an odd time. I believe in Milwaukee.
It's 5:07 somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. I almost started singing. It's 5.
No, don't.
And there goes our last viewer, or listener.
I told you.
Damn it! Why didn't you stop me sooner?
I tried.
So the Diamondbacks and Brewers. The Diamondbacks. I don't think there's a single baseball predictor person, at the beginning of the season who picked the Diamondbacks to win the NL West and make the playoffs. So they are, kind of like the Rays right now. The Diamondbacks made the playoffs easily. It wasn't one of those will they make it in, will they not? But I think the Diamondbacks could kind of be one of those Cinderella teams. I think they lost almost 100 games last year out of 162. So they lost a lot last year. And then this year they've turned it around. So that's a pretty cool story. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night as baseball finishes up. And it's now 3-1 update. Detroit over the New York Yankees in the end of the 5th inning. So they'll start the 6th inning soon.
Go Tigers.
So the NBA lockout, like I said, we kind of discussed this in the Spew the Snews. So I'll go over it real quickly again, or we'll go over it real quickly again. It is very interesting because the league picked up a lot of marketing steam last year, and its popularity was hugely on the rise. and now all of a sudden they've got the lockout, and there's a lot of people who are basketball fans who look at this and say, are we going to recover from this? Because if we have a lockout after the season we just had, all of our momentum, all of that good, the good feelings, all that stuff is going to go away. And we're not going to have that to increase the popularity of the league. And like you said, basketball might not be. What did you say again?
Oh, I think that they're flirting with complete and utter disaster. I mean, they're a bottom feeder sport as far as I'm concerned. They're above maybe, I don't know, curling, tennis, I suppose. But it just seems dangerous for them to risk a lockout and take their market share that much lower. And then they're going to be dividing up less money.
Well, it's interesting because back in the '80s there was Bird and Magic Johnson.
Yeah, those are names even I know. Dr. J.
Dr. J. And then there was Michael Jordan. Of course, that's the name that everyone pretty much knows. In the '90s, he was even in the late '80s, mid '80s. '84, he was drafted.
Once you're in a Bugs Bunny special, then we all know.
Oh yeah. Once you're in a Disney movie, everyone knows who you are as an athlete. Right. But yes, we're referring Space Jam. That's one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. Still one of my favorite movies.
I don't think I've seen it, to be honest.
Really? How have you not seen it?
Sorry.
You should watch it. You really should.
I'll watch it with my kids. Yeah.
Yeah. I implore anyone who hasn't seen Space Jam to just, it's an older Disney movie, so it's only like 80 minutes long. It's only an hour and like 15, 20, I think. So
shorter than this.
Yeah, it is. So it's a good watch. I still enjoy it.
Next time you're thinking about whether to listen to our podcast or not.
Just
please
think
don't. Please don't. I take it back.
Oh. Oh, man.
Note yourself. Don't plug movies.
That's right. I could be watching a movie instead of this. What am I doing?
I could be doing that instead of talking here with you, Zach. Just remember.
I know.
all this so I sound smart at the water cooler. Boy, the things I do to get ahead.
I know. Those people at the water cooler must be impressed.
I don't actually have a water cooler, to be honest.
Does anybody anymore have any water coolers at their workplace?
No, because that water bottle thing, those things cost money. We get a schooner of tap.
I know, right? I mean, it's such an old thing. You got to say something like, instead of talking around the water cooler, it's like talking over, AOL Instant Messenger or something.
That's right. And besides, bottled water is practically banned at my company because we make water treatment equipment, and we know that the water that comes out of your tap is actually cleaner than the water that's bottled water. So, that's just an aside.
I'm gonna next time I look at bottled water, I'm gonna just kind of think about what you said and go.
That's right. Yep. The water that comes out of your taps, tested. The water that comes out of your bottle is like, well, it's probably fine.
It's in a bottle now. It should be fine.
It came from a spring. It must be okay.
Yeah. So the NBA, it was popular in those days and kind of lost its popularity. Because I don't know, there are names like Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, now there's LeBron James. There are names out there, but they don't seem to have the same, for some reason, power, I guess, and basketball's kind of fallen back a little bit behind football and baseball even.
Yeah, you'd almost think the sport would be healthier when there wasn't just one or two individual stars that dominated, because then the teams would play team play and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like that. It takes some stars to bring people in.
It really does. And that's one of the other things, is there are a lot of good, young, talented stars in the NBA. And this lockout's going to kill any momentum that they had made last year when their popularity was rising. So you've got that to consider, along with the money issues and economic implications of the owners and players and all that stuff. So I sent you the link. ESPN does this thing once a year. They've done it for the past 3 years, so it's not that long, I guess. They have the body issue, where they highlight. I got rid of it. Where they highlight, the bodies of athletes, male and female, about, and I don't know if glorify is the correct word, but celebrate. Yeah, there we go. Celebrate the I don't know.
These pictures are gross, buddy.
What?
These pictures are gross.
Yes, they if you've never seen this, which they're basically nude. Yeah, all nude, pretty much. Pictures of the athletes.
They're like fake nude, where their arms are across them, or their leg is up and sideways, or whatever.
Right, they're doing things. Yeah, they're doing things that keep them from being nude, but they're they have no clothes on.
It's not really a sexy thing, to be honest.
No, it's not. I mean, and that's one of those questions: is it celebrating? I guess the sexiness, the apex of the human body in athletics, whether male or female. It's interesting, I guess to look at, but it's at times, but it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know.
It highlights the difference between what we glorify as men and women, I suppose, and what we consider sexy, and what we consider to be is not the same as best performing.
Yeah.
We like anorexic women for some reason with big boobs, and they can't play sports.
Right.
So it's a strange diversion. You think we would be attracted to those that can, run the fastest or jump the highest, but we're not.
It is. Well, I want to know, and I don't mean this as like they need it, but I want to know how much of the what do you call it, the after effects or any of that stuff went on to these pictures. I mean, some of them look like all there are parts that are shiny and muscular on both the guys and the girls, where you're like holy crap.
I don't get it. You mean that they have so many muscles?
Well, kind of. I mean, I just mean like some of these pictures are very.
Or you think there's some photoshopping going on?
I think there's a slight amount of photoshopping going on, maybe. In some of them, not all of them. And I'm not saying that like these athletes really need it, but I wonder how much of that, happens. I guess. I
don't know. I mean, I would imagine that happens in all magazines and all pictures of pretty much everything. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, most of the I must say most of the females in this are certainly not unattractive. Not at all, and I'm guessing that the guys, of course, are attractive.
I'll bet the guys are more attractive than the women, because I guess there's something, and it shouldn't be, but there's something about an extremely muscular woman that's, it's daunting to us, man. She can kick my butt.
It's I know, yeah. We're supposed to have that whole, what's it called? I don't know. What interests me though too is the one of the girls, the goalie for the U.S. women's soccer team, Hope Solo, has kind of become a bigger, since the U.S. Women's World Cup, or the Women's World Cup, where the U.S. lost in the championship game. Hope Solo has kind of become the star of that team. She is usually, she does look very, she has an air of sexiness to her with that athletic build and everything when you see her normally. But in these pictures, it I don't know, it almost looks forced, It doesn't look. She doesn't look as good as she does. I don't know.
This is creepy, Zach.
It is, but I thought I'd bring it up. It's interesting that they do it. This is the third year in a row. It is a good way to celebrate the athletes, and I guess, but it's interesting to see all the muscles on some of these girls and guys.
All right, if it's okay with you, Zach, I'm gonna stop looking at it.
Okay. No, creeping me out. Yeah, I kind of stopped a while ago. But
the only thing interesting was the imaginative ways in which they covered up people.
It really is incredible. They must have people working day and night for a good week or two, thinking of ways that they. These are
people we could put towards the towards the greater good instead of this.
I know. What was your last job? Thinking up poses for nude athletes to stand in so that they weren't nude.
Right. That's right.
But yeah, I remember just a little story. I remember getting the first time I got the issue. I don't remember if it was the first year they did it. I think it was. At first, I was like, "What?" It was 3 years ago, so I was only like 19. But still, at 19, it was kind of one of those. Wait a minute, this is an ESPN the magazine for sports, and there's like a naked girl on the cover. you know, and I'm flipping through it and looking at the body. I'm like, what is this? This is so... What is this? I had no word for it.
I don't know, man.
So, a lot of people seem to like it.
I looked at a print magazine.
A lot of people seem to like it. All right, so we'll move on to football. We're at the first quarter mark, as they might say in horse racing, the first quarter turn, as they enter the what do you call it? That front stretch, back stretch, whatever it is.
They don't
so
call
like
it first quarter turn.
I don't know. We're a quarter of the way through the season, right? 4 games have been played.
That might be the one sport I know more about than you.
Oh, really? I don't doubt that. I know
nothing. Kentucky Derby time. I'll show my stuff, man.
Okay. I know nothing about horse racing. I really don't. So, football. Like I said earlier, the only undefeated teams left are the 4-0 Green Bay Packers, the defending Super Bowl champions, and the 4-0 Detroit Lions. And again, even though they're in the same division and will play twice this year, they don't play... Let me actually get this correct. They don't play each other until week 12 on Thursday on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, man, if it could only go that long. It won't, but it'd be awesome.
If they are, and they'll both have had their bye, so they have a chance. They could both be 10-0 going into the Thanksgiving Day game at Detroit. That's huge. That would be incredible if they could do it.
I'm not betting on it, bud.
I'm not either. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I was going to ask for the first to lose. Who will, as in like who will be the last? I guess who will be the last undefeated team? The Packers or the Green Bay Packers or the Detroit Lions?
I'll bet they both lose in the same week. So it really just is the order of games.
Yeah. I think that, let's see, Green Bay. I'm looking real quick through the schedule here. I gotta think Detroit actually wins, or I think Detroit's the last undefeated team, but I don't think they go undefeated for much longer. I actually think that I'm gonna go out on a limb. I don't pick this game, but I think Green Bay is gonna beat Atlanta on Sunday Night Football. Or Atlanta's gonna beat Green Bay, because they're playing at Atlanta. It's kind of a must-win because I believe Atlanta's 1-3. Oh no, they're 2-2. Yeah. But I think Atlanta beats Green Bay this week, and Detroit beats Chicago. So Detroit's the last undefeated team standing.
Those are extra picks above and beyond, ladies and gentlemen. They're not on our list. They're just provided as an extra service to you.
They are not part of the point scoring system that we have put into place.
Right.
So we looked at you looked at them beforehand. Before the show, the Vince Wilfork. We have a couple of links, and I'll post them on the WordPress blog. It is quick. What's the exact WordPress blog?
Oh, spewthesnews.wordpress.com. SBEWTHESNEWS, because that's what we do. We spew the snooze.
Cool. The sports news for any of you that are just tuning in, or have no idea why it's the snooze. Why did I give that away? That was the one thing keeping them here.
It was the mystery. It was the mystery of the whole thing. Like the 33 on the Rolling Rock bottle.
The what?
Maybe you don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
The Rolling Rock bottle just says 33 on the side, and there's all these theories as to why it does, and nobody really knows.
I gotcha. Okay. So we've got these two videos of a big defensive tackle.
So Zach, I looked at these, and all I could think about was... what's the guy's name on the Sports Center, the he could go all the way guy? Bergman?
Chris Berman.
Chris Berman? What nickname he would give this guy? Will Fork? He would be like, Will Fork over the ball or something like that.
That's pretty good.
These were fun to watch. I mean, watching such a big guy run is always a laugh.
It is. It's one of those things where whenever you see a defensive lineman or an offensive player get their hand on the ball and start running with it, I think regardless of what team you're rooting for, you always pretty much get up and go, run, go, do something with it, do something. It's always one of those moments where you're like, oh, this is so cool.
The funniest is when they have to go like the whole length of the field and they just can't do it. They get like most of the way there, and you can tell they're sucking wind so hard.
You see them get like 30 yards down the field, 40 yards in there. You could just see they're dying as they're like chugging along. Yep. And you're just, and I watch that and I go, oh my goodness. Oh, man. Those poor big guys. But Vince, we're talking about, if you're wondering, Vince Wilfork, interception against the Raiders this week. Stiff-armed an offensive lineman. It's hysterical to watch them do anything like, remotely athletic, I think, sometimes, especially when they're big defensive tackles. Vince Wilfork is a guy that's like 350 pounds. He's got a stomach on him. He's not one of those freak athletic defensive ends. He's a big, huge defensive tackle.
He's a man who eats with a willful fork.
That's a good one. Oh.
Will fork it into his mouth. No, he's one of those guys on the line. He's a tackle, right?
Yep.
And these guys don't generally intercept. In order to do it, they really, because the ball's only halfway through its trajectory when it gets to these guys, so they have to react faster. This guy's got two. I don't know how far apart these are, but it's like he just figured it out. Hey, I can grab this thing out of the air. How awesome is that?
Yeah, he had no interceptions. He's a I don't know. He's been in the league for a good number of years, 6 to 8 or 9, maybe. I don't know. I think. And he did not have a single interception coming into this season. I believe it was the second game of the season against the Chargers. He had his first career interception. And then just this past week, he had another interception against the Raiders. So he went from having none to having 2 within 3 weeks of each other. It really was like a light bulb went off, and he was like, oh, I can catch the ball?
By the
way, do that?
By the way, Vince, if you're listening, we love you. Please don't come to our house and kill us.
I'd be more worried about him sitting on us until we
Oh, you're making it worse, man. He's going to come to your house.
Hey, you know what? You know what? I love, Vince Wilfork. I'm not a huge fan of the Patriots. I'll admit that off the top of my, right here. Vince Wilfork is one of those guys that I would love to shake hands with and meet and sit down and eat dinner with, even if I had to pay the bill.
Wow.
Because he seems like he's one of those defensive linemen, like a Warren Sapp, one of those guys that has a personality to him. Wilfork's not like a huge celebrator on the field. He's not celebratory like Sapp was when Sapp did dances in the end zone when he'd catch, passes from tight end in the goal line formation. But Wilfork's one of those guys that he seems like he's one of those guys that would be very interesting to sit down, And plus, I root, like I said, I root for big guys like that when they get interceptions. I just have to root for him. And after watching the way Wilfork handled himself, which was he didn't seem to slow down or go down easily. He showed determination, willpower. Vince Wilfork, if you are listening, I love you. Intercept the ball more.
Yeah.
Ask Coach Belichick to put you in at safety or something.
You'll be like the next Deion Sanders. You'll be in there on offense, like the fridge.
Or have him put you in there as the fridge.
Yeah.
It's really cool to watch. All joking aside, Vince Wilfork, well done.
Please don't kill us.
Please don't kill us.
Let's talk about Marion Barber, and let's do what we didn't do last time and actually describe the play before we talk about it.
Okay, that's a good idea. So
do you want to? This is an audio medium.
Do you want to describe it, or do you want me to?
I want you to describe this one because I want to describe the next one.
Okay. All right. So Marion Barber III, running back for the Chicago Bears, scores a touchdown. Short touchdown run, kind of, one of those kind of, masses at the pile where he gets in. So he gets in, he gets up. I think he throws the ball or something, spikes it a little bit, whatever. But that's not the end of his celebration. No, he's got more to do. So he gets up, and he goes to the back of the end zone and gets ready, and does a backflip. Okay, in the back of the end zone, he does a backflip. Except for he attempts to do a backflip because he doesn't actually get all the way around. He gets his feet all the way around, but then his feet hit and then his head hits. So
it was awesome.
It's kind of hard to describe, but it's a total fail on the whole. He failed the backflip.
He did a backflop.
Yes, it was.
He landed on his face.
He basically landed on his face, and then the rest of him hit the ground. And he kind of started to lay there, and he rolled over onto his back, arms in the air, kind of like he meant to do it.
Yeah.
He was like, it was one of those I was part of the celebration. Oh, I'm fine, So he was fine, but That's one of those ones you've got to watch. Is like a fan of the Bears had to have been holding his breath when he screwed that backflip up, going, "Oh my God, is he going to get hurt?"
Can you imagine if you had him on your fantasy team? You'd be like, "Oh my God, that doofus."
I know. Well, yeah, I can't. That's one of those ones where you just go, "Please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt."
I remember one of those Cowboy quarterbacks or Cowboy wide receivers getting hurt doing that. Preston Pearson or Tony Hill or one of those way back guys with the Roger Staubach days. And he went to do where they would jump up and just kind of push the ball through the uprights and then come back down again if they scored. And he hurt his ankle. And he was out for like 2 games.
Well, remember back in the day, who was it? I guess it would be back old school for me-ish. Martin Gramatica for the Tampa Bay Bucks, the kicker. Celebrating making it wasn't even a game-winning field goal. It was like a field goal in the first quarter or something. He hits the field goal, he jumps in the air and pumps his fist, and when he lands, he tore his ACL and was out for the season. I mean, it wasn't even a game-winning field goal. It was, I remember watching that, and, you just, as every team in the league that ever wanted to sign him must have asked him the same question. So, are you going to celebrate when you make a field goal? He goes, no.
I will not.
I promise. All right, so you want to describe the next one?
I do. So, it's a little play, kind of over the middle. The wide receiver kind of gets it in his hands, but he juggles it, and somehow it kind of slips down his body as he falls over backwards. And the ball never touches the ground. It kind of just hovers on him, and as he falls backwards, his legs go in the air, and the ball kind of rolls down his leg, kind of like you do that shoulder thing with the basketball where it starts on one side and it kind of rolls over behind your neck.
Right, yeah.
It rolled along his body and then up off his foot, and then, of course, the defender was right there and was like, sweet, here's the ball.
Hey, look, a gift.
It was literally just handed to him like it came off of like a little ramp. Mm-hmm. And then he ran it in for the touchdown. It was awesome.
Yep.
You can imagine the quarterback is like, that counts against me? I can't believe.
I know, that's one of those ones when you talk about, he's thrown 1 interception today, and then always the commentator will do, but that wasn't his fault, They always seem to try and throw that in there.
Well, it happens the other way around. Sometimes the quarterback will haul off and throw one right into the arms of an enemy of another defender, and it just bounces off him, and he does because he's not paying attention or something.
I know. Well, you see in week 2, the Cowboys versus the 49ers. Romo threw a pass. I don't remember if Witten ran the wrong route or what miscommunication, but it missed Witten and kept going, and the 49ers safety went to, God, I don't even know what, but the ball actually hit him in the helmet and bounced away. He never went for the interception. And it's one of those ones where you're like, well, that's why he's playing defense and not offense.
It's true. I mean, they're like that. And I also like those plays where it's 4th down and it's like a Hail Mary pass, and the defender is smart enough to knock it down instead of catch it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean well, you know what? I always kind of wondered that if you have as a defender for me, if I have a chance to actually pick it, catch it cleanly, I'll catch it. Otherwise, I will knock it down. Remember last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars had a Hail Mary pass that was seemingly knocked down, but instead. What was his name? Mike Thomas caught it and ran it in from like 3 yards out.
Oh yeah,
in the game.
He tried to knock it down, but he was a good 8 or 9 feet in the air, and he tapped it down to the other guy's hands.
Yep, and he caught it at like the 3 and just walked into the end zone, and the Jaguars won on a strange Hail Mary. Yeah, so you always kind of got to worry about those tips. You don't want to give the offense multiple opportunities.
Yeah.
But oh well, that's one of those things. But I always think, I like this. But those were probably some of the better plays of this week. So I've got to spend about, a minute or 2 ranting here.
I'll be back in a minute. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say you can time me. I gotta go on a rant here, and I'll try and do these. Maybe make this a segment each week. This first one though is going to be something close to my heart. It's going to be about Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys. All right. So those of you that don't care or don't want to hear it or want to just make fun of me for whatever I say, you can go ahead and do something else for the next minute or 2. But do come back, please. So the past 4 weeks, Tony Romo has gone from being the worst quarterback ever, and the Cowboys should bench him or trade him or just overall release him right now. Did you actually leave?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I heard a huge noise. I thought your chair moved. I was like, oh, okay.
I moved my microphone.
I gotcha. So Tony Romo, after the first week of the season, was the worst quarterback in the league. Should have been traded, benched. The Cowboys would never win with him. Week 2, broken rib, punctured lung, led the Cowboys to a comeback. All of a sudden, everyone was talking about how he's the leader the Cowboys need. Without him, they wouldn't win a game, blah, 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 blah. Next week, gutty performance, still dealing with the broken rib, the pain from it. Without some of his better players on offense. They win a close game against the Washington Redskins, a division rival, always a tough game. And everyone's saying, Tony Romo, he managed the game. He won it for the Cowboys. He didn't lose it. He did blah, 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 blah. Last week, against the Detroit Lions, Cowboys were up 27-3 with like 10 minutes in the third quarter. Romo throws 2 pick-sixes and then another interception that set up, I think, the game-winning score. And the Cowboys lose 34-30. And we're right back to the same spot we were after Week 1, which is the Cowboys will never win with Romo as a quarterback. He's horrible. They need to think about, they need to trade him or they need to find another quarterback. They need to trap, all this stuff. I'm sick of it. I am really sick of it because everybody that is saying these things it's the same people saying these two things. No one, for me, as trying to be objective, Tony Romo's not an elite quarterback. I don't really think that you can be an elite quarterback until you've won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady, considered an elite quarterback. He's won Super Bowls. He's putting up numbers. Elite quarterback. Peyton Manning, elite quarterback, kind of even before he won a Super Bowl. But there were always those questions, which are fine, about the Super Bowl. But he was considered an elite quarterback, and then was of course one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL after he won it. Let's see, Aaron Rodgers was not considered an elite quarterback last year. He put up great numbers. He was now considered an elite quarterback because he did lead his team to a Super Bowl victory. So I don't think anyone's calling Tony Romo an elite quarterback until he does win a Super Bowl. So anyone that says, oh, Tony Romo's not the elite quarterback everyone thought, he's not an elite quarterback. Okay? Drew Brees was not an elite quarterback before he won a Super Bowl. Now he's an elite quarterback. Quarterback is all about winning. Okay? You get all the fame when you win. You get all the hatred when you lose. But all this stuff on Tony Romo, yes, he threw 3 interceptions. 2 of them at least were kind of stupid plays, but it is the truth. You do live and die by the Romo. Okay? There's not going to be... You're not going to get the victories with Tony Romo that you get in weeks 2 and 3 without sometimes having the losses that you get in week 1 and 4. Now, everyone that would then say that he's not a good enough quarterback to start in the NFL is talking out their butt. Romo's gone through... Romo had a bad week 1. He has those weeks. They're rare, actually. They happen like once or twice a season. I seem to remember Tom Brady against the Buffalo Bills throwing for 4 interceptions, including a pick-6 in about, the fourth quarter that tied the game up.
Well, Zach, you could replace him if you had a Tier 1 or an elite quarterback. You had Peyton Manning or somebody willing to come aboard. But, nobody has that. The available pool of backup quarterbacks, even if you could draw one from somewhere else, none of them are better than Romo.
Yes, and that's one of the other things, is that there's not going to be an easy solution to this. I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I remember the days when we had Quincy Carter, Clint Stoner, Drew Henson, and 42-year-old Vinny Testaverde, Drew Bledsoe. Who else have we had at quarterback? Jeez. John Kitna last year when Romo was injured. People want us, the Cowboys, to start people like that over Romo.
How I feel about Romo?
How?
He's just too damn happy. I mean, that guy has got the world by the balls. He does. He must have millions and millions of dollars. And when they show, like, in the stands, isn't his girlfriend like some sort of model or something like that?
I believe so, yeah.
So then they show her, she's like some blonde country singer model person or something. And he's always smiling like, dude, I'm getting paid to play a game that I love to play. I'm getting paid millions of dollars. Look at my girlfriend in the stands. He's just always smiling. It just kind of almost bothered me that he was just so darn happy.
Well, what's funny is that you can use that against him too. Of course, you can say that he shouldn't be happy, especially if they lose. But he's not happy when they lose. I mean, you can see that by the way he acted
still got
after.
A little smirk. He's always got a little bit of a smirk to him.
Well, okay, but a lot of people who don't like Tony Romo say that too. But, Tom Brady does the same thing. Coach Belichick for the Patriots does the same thing. Peyton Manning, okay, he doesn't because he always looks angry. But, there is that certain thing where, just because, again, I'm not saying I'm trying to defend Tony Romo here in the way of he's not an elite, he's not a horrible quarterback.
He's
he shouldn't
a regular
be benched
quarterback,
or traded.
and you don't think people should put so much pressure on him?
I think he's a really good quarterback. I think if he wins a Super Bowl, he's an elite quarterback, much like a lot of other, like Peyton Manning. There were always those, despite all the stats he put up and everything he did, there were always the question of, well, he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. He hasn't won will he win a Super Bowl? Is he, how good is he if he does not win a Super Bowl? Now, Romo isn't putting up the numbers that Manning had. But if Romo wins a Super Bowl, everyone shuts up. If he doesn't, then no one shuts up. But I think Romo's an above-average quarterback, a really good quarterback. He's not an elite. Like, if anybody says that, I look at them funny. He's not. He is the reason why the Cowboys won those 2 games. Pure and simple. You can also point and say that he's the reason they lost the other 2 games, and they kind of are, but he did that in the spirit of trying to win the games. I don't know. It's one of those things where I hate hearing all the comments about, the Cowboys won't win a Super Bowl without him. They can win a Super Bowl with him. They're not going to because he makes some of these stupid mistakes. And people point out he's 1 in, 3 in the playoffs? What was Peyton Manning in the playoffs before he won his Super Bowl? Peyton Manning, for the longest time couldn't get over the hump in the playoffs, and everyone questioned. It's one of those things where because he's the quarterback of the Cowboys, because like you said, he has that smirk, he's getting paid.
Well, he's held to a higher standard because
he is held to a higher
standard. The Cowboys are the Cowboys, and they're expected to win more than any other team in the league.
Yeah. So my thing is, and I'll end my rant here. He's not an elite quarterback. Anyone that says that, pretty much crazy right now until he wins a Super Bowl, then you may put him in the elite category.
Anybody who says that, we're sending Vince Wilfork over to their house.
That's right. Or we'll send Chris Cooley, who dislikes Tony Romo and enjoyed the choke. Now, what Tony Romo did, and again, this has always been my defense of him is, the Cowboys' offense revolves around the way Tony Romo plays, which is that carefree, gunslinger, happy-go-lucky. The Cowboys are probably 0-4 without him because he's the reason why they were up so much against the Detroit Lions, and he's also the reason why they were winning against the New York Jets in their 2 losses. Now, he contributed to both losses, of course, big time, but the Cowboys aren't even there without him to choke the game away. So, Tony Romo, final say, above average to good quarterback. If he, wins and wins the Super Bowl or whatever, he will shut up the haters. They then can't question it, but they're never going to. But I hate hearing everyone and their mother be able to say because of the choke, the Cowboy, Tony Romo sucks. He's, the Cowboys need to get rid of him. How can you defend him? You can defend him. Is a Jacksonville Jaguar fan? Would you take Tony Romo?
I just want to say that I think he's an elite quarterback. I'm just trying to tick you off. I would take him. Okay. I would take him in a second.
There are a good number of teams that would take Tony Romo in a heartbeat because of their quarterback situation.
Yeah, and plus it's always pleasant to see his girlfriend in the stands because she is pretty.
Oh yeah. Well, there are a lot of hot girls in Cowboys uniforms at Dallas Stadium.
I have actually met the Jacksonville Roar, and I hope none of them come to my house either. But they were actually not that attractive. It was pretty bad, actually. Aww. I mean, they were pretty women, but they were not, Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. It was obvious that it was a kind of a volunteer organization, and God bless them for doing what they do. Jacksonville just has a different budget than I think the rest of the world does.
They have the Cowboys, that cheerleader thing, they have some sort of reality TV show that follows the cheerleaders, like, getting into shape or trying out or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I haven't actually. I'll admit I've seen like minutes of it. I haven't watched. But when I flick through
Secret
channels,
pleasure, baby.
Well, yeah, it comes up, and I'm like, ooh, hot girls, and then
you're not gonna change the station.
And then it's the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, and I'm like, what? And I watch for like 3 minutes, and it's all this like nose needs work, and you have too much flab when she's got like no flab on her stomach and all that stuff. And it's like, you have to get better with your dancing. And then it goes commercial, and I'm like, all right.
All those
what
ones,
else is on?
all those ones they turned down, Zach, they can go to Jacksonville. We'll take them and Tony Romo.
Hey, I'll take them.
Yeah.
Send them to my place.
All right, let's make some picks, bud.
Yeah, that was a long rant.
Or Stutter Muffin.
Stutter Muffin. We've got from last week, real quick, Victor Cruz, wide receiver for the Giants. We all picked Muffin. He scored 9 points. Our threshold for running backs and wide receivers was 16 points to be a stud.
This is our Muffin stud threshold, our MST.
Yes. So that's good. So we were all correct on that pick. Darren McFadden, running back for the Raiders. He had 11 points. That makes him a Muffin. You and Nate said stud. I said Muffin.
Oh.
Yes. And then we've got Rob Gronkowski, the tight end for the New England Patriots. He scored 8 points. You and I both said stud. Nate said Muffin, so Nate was the only one that got that right.
So you and Nate tied, and I sucked an egg.
Pretty much.
But we said we weren't going to score that, so I didn't really try that.
We'll keep it in the back of our heads. It's like the 5-year-old or 6-year-old soccer league or something where they don't actually keep track of the score, but all the parents do.
I know all about that.
Yes.
Yes, Molly scored a soccer goal this week, and
cool.
All the parents keep score on the sideline, but they don't officially keep score. So it's kind of funny.
It is. It's always funny. Yeah, I loved it when the kids finally figured it out, and they turn around and go, "What's the score?"
But it's funny that sometimes the kids lose track, and every so often both sides will leave thinking they won, and I'm like listening to the other team saying, "We beat them 5-4," I'm like, and my side's all saying, "We beat them 5-4."
Yeah,
the kids can't count that high or something.
Well, we have this problem in college. Playing pickup games of basketball, we'd play best, first to 21 or first to 11, whatever we play. We'd play for like 10, 15 minutes, and it would be like 8-6. And then all of a sudden, no one would really know what the score was, and all of a sudden someone would score, and it'd be like 9-5. What? It's like no, it's 8-6. And it would be one of those things, or someone would score, and we'd all look at each other like, so who's remembering the score?
Or perhaps you should have been studying your math more, Zach.
Apparently, but yeah, it is quite. I just gotta put that in there. It's one of those things where you're not thinking about the score, even though you are. It's weird. I don't know.
All right, Arian Foster.
Yes, running back for the Texans. Second week, but he re-injured his hamstring in week 2. First full game back against I don't remember who he played. He's had 21 points. So he was picked, I think, second in most drafts, right behind Adrian Peterson. He hasn't produced anything because he's been injured. So in this next game against the
Oakland Raiders,
he's going to be Stutter Muffin.
He's going to be a stud. He's back and he's better than ever.
Stud for Mark. I'm going to say Muffin. I think that the Raiders have a very solid run defense, and I think that the Texans decide to attack their weak secondary with although Andre Johnson is out, the star wide receiver for the Texans, so they might have to run it more. But I think I see like Foster getting like maybe 10 to 15 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown maybe, and that'll give him 12 points. Not enough for the stud. I could be wrong. They might have to without Andre Johnson, but
the Muffin stud threshold is a little harder on running backs, to be honest.
Well, it is, yeah. But running backs are supposed
to say stud. I stand by my studness.
All right.
Not only that, and I think he's going to be a stud.
So the other running back taken in the first 2 or 3 picks, Adrian Peterson, running back for the Vikings. He had 8 points last week, 14 the week before that, 26 in week 2, and then 9 in week 1. He's been doing all right, but not the sort of points that everyone thought. There was a lot of talk about how he only got like 3 carries when the Vikings were up 20-0 against the Lions in week 3, and he only got 3 carries in the second half when you thought that the Vikings would just want to pound one of the best running backs in the NFL to wear down the clock. So that kind of is a question mark. And they're playing Arizona, which is their defense has been solid, but it's been vulnerable at times. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say stud. I think that even if Adrian Peterson doesn't get a lot of carries, which I think he needs for the Vikings to win any games, period, I think he still runs wild and kind of has one of those games where he has like 10 carries and 150 yards and 2 touchdowns because he broke a long 50-yard touchdown run and a 30-yard touchdown run.
Okay, I'm up. This guy sucks. Never liked this guy. He's always hyped up to be awesome, and he, no, I don't care for this guy. I mean, he'll do fine, but I don't think he'll reach the muffin line.
You know what they have for baseball? They have the Mendoza line. Whatever the batting average is. I bet you Nate could say. They do have those lines. We could have the muffin line for fantasy football. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so we have the muffin line, and he'll have one of these where he gets 20 attempts and maybe 80 yards and maybe a touchdown, maybe not. I don't think he goes hog wild. I think he only has a few of those games in a season. I don't think this is going to be one of them.
Okay. And the last one, Wes Welker for the Patriots. One of the best one of the best reactions when you were looking him up earlier. Oh, this guy's white. It's just awesome. That was so unexpected.
That was funny because you faded out there, and I didn't know what you were going to do, and all I heard was the punchline. So you Skyped out, and I hear this guy's white. I was like, hey, that's my line.
Yeah, well, I said in case it faded out in the recording, I said that it was one of the best things to hear when you were looking these up earlier, and you happened to look up Wes Welker. And the first response I got was...
I was checking my typing. I was like, is this right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sorry, Wes. I'm sure you're awesome.
Yes, no, he is. Wes Welker. He used to be a Dolphins player. All of my friends who are Dolphins fans, very upset. They also lost their starting quarterback, Chad Henne, for the season, the Dolphins fans did.
This guy has been tearing it up this year, man.
He has. He's got points of, 21 points last week, 34 points in week 3, 8 points in week 2, and 28 points in week 1.
It looks like you're looking at a pretty good website while we talk now, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Mine doesn't have that, but I do see his stats, and it's pretty incredible. It's hard to keep this. As a wide receiver, it's kind of hard not to be streaky. You can't really produce every single week, because they usually have a core of 3 or 4 good receivers, and sometimes they go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this guy, he's just tearing it up. So I think he's going to be a stud.
Okay.
He's going to cross the line.
I think he's going to be a stud as well. Supposedly, Darrelle Revis, one of the best corners in the NFL, is going to be covering him. But Welker operates in the slot. Revis doesn't, from what I understand, doesn't normally cover players in the slot, which is a tough cover for any defensive back because the wide receiver in the slot can go inside or outside. You don't have the sideline to help you as an extra defender. So I think that Wes Welker is such a key cog in the Patriots offense. He's the guy that Tom Brady looks for in moments of, he's like the security blanket. There's those tight ends that they talk about. There's security blankets for quarterbacks. Wes Welker is that guy for Tom Brady. So I think I agree. I think Tom Brady, is going to find Wes Welker regardless of how well the Jets scheme for him and whatever. And I think Welker also is a stud this week.
All right.
So those are our Stutter Muffin picks. So we'll go through last week's predictions. We had the 4 normal games, the Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. Mark, you picked the Panthers. Nate and I picked Chicago. Nate also said that the Chicago would win in OT. The outcome was the Chicago Bears did beat the Carolina Panthers, but not in overtime.
Let's not do each game, Zach. Just give us the whole total.
Okay.
How'd we do?
So I got from last week. I missed 1 game total. I got 6 points. I only missed the Steelers-Houston game. I picked the Steelers-Houston one.
Is that the upset?
No, I picked the upset correctly. My upset was the Bengals over the Bills. I'm 2-0 on upset.
The maximum points you could get is 7 out of the whole thing?
Yep.
And you got 6.
Yes.
Look.
Nate got 4 points. He barely missed his upset. Arizona over New York. Arizona almost did win, except for 2 last-minute touchdowns by the Giants. So he got 4 points. And you, the sports dummy, got a point. You got your stone cold lock. Tampa Bay barely beat Indianapolis on Monday Night Football for the stone cold lock.
It takes skill. It takes real skill.
So,
I'm glad we didn't go through this game by game because I couldn't have took it.
So overall...
So wait a second. So with the 3 extra points I get from the first week, I'm tied with Nate.
Yes, you are. You are still in second place.
I vow to do better.
So I have 9 points, Mark has 4 points, and Nate has 4 points. We'll put Nate's picks, he'll get his picks into me, and we'll put them up on the WordPress blog, spewthesnews.wordpress.com, and we'll keep track of them that way. So, all right, so this week, first game, Tennessee 3-1 at Pittsburgh 2-2. You want me to go first? Okay.
I'm all over this, man.
Wow, he's just...
I was studying while you were doing all the baseball stuff.
I see. So you're gonna score at least 4 points this week.
I am.
Okay, I hold you to that. I'm gonna go. I can't freaking pick Pittsburgh or Houston to save my life. Both these,
Houston? Did you just call them Houston?
I did. Well, no, I said that I can't pick Pittsburgh or Houston. Last week, Pittsburgh versus Houston, I picked the Steelers. The Texans won. The week before that, I picked Houston against the Saints, and the Saints won. It's like one of those bad things. I'm gonna pick Tennessee. I think Big Ben's hurt. I think he actually misses this week.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, there's a question. He's questionable.
Apparently, you didn't talk about baseball long enough.
Yes, he's questionable with like a foot sprain. So,
I'm not changing my pick.
All right. So week 2, Cincinnati 2-2, coming off an upset victory over the Bills at your Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1-3.
Oh, you gotta go with the Jaguars. They're coming back. I don't know why. Just because I love them.
I'm picking the Jaguars as well. I think that Blaine is Blaine Gabbert still starting for you guys?
I believe so. That's what my neighbor said. So that's what we got to go on as far as that's concerned.
I think he's going to have one of those rookie quarterback games where everything kind of falls into place for him. I think Cincinnati is going to suffer that whole we just upset an undefeated team that we weren't really supposed to win. Woohoo! And go on the road against Jacksonville and lose.
Yeah, I'll bet it's an ugly game on both sides in the Jaguars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting anything pretty from those two teams.
Well,
so week 3, big AFC East. You're welcome. Big AFC East battle between the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. The Jets 2-2, a disappointing 2-2, and the Patriots are 3-1.
Who's going first? I'll go first.
Okay.
New York Jets.
Jets, Jets. I'm gonna go with
that's them and that's them.
Yes, I'm gonna go with the Patriots. Patriots supposedly have not lost a home game in the regular season since 2008. Patriots are at home. I don't know. These are two teams that I am not particularly good fans of.
Well, you're picking now I'm looking at a website that has the line, and they definitely picked the Patriots to win by a fair margin. I can almost call this my upset.
Wow. I wouldn't think the line... How big is it?
9 points.
Wow. I wouldn't think it would be bigger than the touchdown.
Well, then you should call your bookie, man.
But I'm
still staying with the Jets.
I'm picking the Patriots. I would amend that by saying I think the Patriots win by like a field goal or 6 points or something like that.
Okay.
So they don't cover the spread. Wink, wink.
Again, call your bookie.
So the last game that we're both picking from will be the Philadelphia Eagles, a disappointing 1-3, at the surprising 3-1 Buffalo Bills. Philadelphia still reeling. Michael Vick actually finished last week's game. They still lost to the San Francisco 49ers 24-23. The Bills still have all sorts of momentum, even after losing to the Bengals. I think that the Bills win this one not handily. Again, it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be something like 38-31 or 38-34. But the Bills are going to win, home field advantage, all that stuff.
I disagree. I think the Eagles are going to win, and Buffalo's going to kind of fade back after their early flash.
Ooh. And we've alienated Western New York now. Cool.
Growing up in upstate New York, I never liked the Giants. I didn't really care for the Bills that much, but I did kind of like the Jets. And I just grew up in a period where they were always awful. But they were tough not to like. If I had to pick somebody that was in my home viewing area that would always be the Jets.
Ah, gotcha.
What a soft spot. You know, I'm a gut picker.
Well, you know what? Those always seem to be the ones that win these stupid pools. You know, you get the NCAA March Madness pools, and it's the one that picked because of what they picked the cuter mascot.
Right. They went by average GPA of school or something like that.
Yeah. You want to wring their neck. You're like, I pored over statistics for 5 hours.
Yeah, but so far the experiment's not going well with me and my 1 point.
No. Well, you have 4 points. Remember that. You did time me in week 3, week 1 for our scoring.
Right. I have to go back to that.
All right, so
those were the days.
Those were the good old days. Yeah. So the Stone Cold Lock, our choice that gun to our head, who's going to win, 100% certainty.
The Giants. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to go first on this one. If you don't.
That's okay. I've been jumping in front of you. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints over the Carolina Panthers. Saints 3-1, Panthers 1-3. I think I picked the Saints to win the NFC South. Yeah, that's the correct division. And I think that the Saints look really good. They've got a bit of a running game with Mark Ingram. Darren Sproles has easily replaced and might even be playing slightly better than Reggie Bush. So I think that the Saints are going to easily beat Carolina in like a 30-10 game.
All right. My Stone Cold Lock is the Giants over Seattle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Seattle just isn't really showing anything this year.
Yeah, they have been kind of disappointing. Same as the St. Louis Rams, who are 0-4.
Yeah.
Rams were 8-8 last year, almost won their division. Or 7-9 last year, almost won their division. And now they're 0-4. All right,
you never know in football, man.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, the Lions are 4-0. Who saw that coming?
Nobody.
There's someone that raises their hand and said, "I did. I said it. Where is it? I didn't actually say it." You know,
he always has every team. He says that about every team.
Those guys are funny to talk to, though. They always are like, "I told you that would happen." It's like, well, I mean, you mentioned it was a possible outcome in the way that everything is possible to happen.
Well, on any given year, I, as a Jaguars fan, will expect them to go 4-0 at least. And so I'll make that prediction every single year. So there's got to be some Detroit fan who's at least as dumb as I am.
That's actually a good point. There are a bunch of Detroit fans who are actually saying, we did.
This is the year, man. We're going all the way.
It might be. You never know.
I
mean, Packers won it last year. No one really, people thought they'd be good, but I don't know if a lot of people picked them as Super Bowl champs in the preseason. So, upset picks.
All right.
Would you like to go first, or do you want me to?
I will go first. I'm gonna flip your lock, man.
No.
Yeah. This is the big catch up move. You see this statistical thing I'm working on here?
Nice.
I'm gonna go with the Panthers over the Saints.
That would be a 3-point swing. Wow. All right, so
I'm a risk taker.
For my upset pick, I have the Denver Broncos at 1-3 over the San Diego Chargers 3-1. They're playing in Denver. It's always a huge rivalry, Denver over versus San Diego. I think Denver shows up, and they haven't been playing like horribly this year, but they haven't been playing particularly well. But I think that San Diego's in that same boat where San Diego just isn't playing all that well. Either this year they've just kind of gotten lucky, have played slightly better than their foes. They're capable of playing quite well, but I just think Denver upsets them in a rivalry game at home. So Denver
plus it's in Denver, right?
Yes, I'm big on the whole home field advantage thing in my upset picks. Have you noticed?
Well,
I picked the.
But I mean, Denver is always the place where it really matters. It really is a mile high.
It is, yeah. Well, I picked the Bills at Buffalo against the Patriots. That happened, and I picked the Bengals against the Bills in Cincinnati, and that happened.
Brag.
I'm looking to go 3-0 on my upset picks here.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? You better get on the bandwagon because if I go on a streak with these upset picks, all of a sudden I become the sports guy that's picking the upset picks.
Then you're right. You could be the sports guy that's picking and me jumping on the bandwagon cannot possibly catch me up.
Yeah. Or you could just absolutely crush me in Panthers could beat the Saints, and I'd be screwed.
So what's the game you think you'll be watching this the big game of the week to watch?
Well, let's see. With Dallas on a bye week, I think the big game this week would be...
I think it's going to be the Sunday night game.
Yeah, I think Green Bay and Atlanta is a huge game. I think that's the game to watch.
See how I set you up there? Do you see what I did there?
Well done.
I knew you would know what it was.
I also think for second best game, this one will be most interesting. Would be Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Tennessee is a surprising 3-1, and they haven't gotten a whole lot of production from what I remember out of Chris Johnson, their star running back. I won't say stud, star running back, against Pittsburgh, who's looked a little old and fragile, and is 2-2, and Big Ben's hurt. Not that that's a surprise. Big Ben always seems hurt.
Blah, 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 blah. Texans suck.
Yes.
Wait, sorry, Titans.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing so that'll be an interesting game to watch, I think, just to see like a barometer of that Pittsburgh's going to recover and play well the rest of the season and make the playoffs, and if Tennessee can maintain their form. And also Buffalo at Philadelphia. Like you said, you think Buffalo's going to fade back after starting off 3-0. I think against Philadelphia, if they play a close game, whether they win or lose, as long as it's a close game, I think Buffalo will remain competitive and be above 500 the rest of the season. But if they get blown out by Philadelphia, I agree with you. If they get blown out by Philadelphia,
takes the life out of them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those where they kind of collapse and go like 6-10, 7-9, 8-8 at best,
and they go gently into the night.
Pretty much, yeah. So with that, we will go not so gently into the night. This is, I believe, shorter than last week's by about 5 minutes.
Whoa, baby, we're getting there.
I know. I thought this was going to be one of our shorter episodes, too.
Oh, yeah. You ranted. It was like an hour and a half as far as I could tell.
Well, that's where I'm going to have to tell you. I'm going to have to say you're going to have to time me. It'll be like a minute rant or a 2-minute rant or something.
You have to tell me to time you and then cut you off as well.
Yeah.
I'll be like, we're losing Zach.
We'll do. I'll put you in charge of the recording, and you'll just mute me and be like, all right, well.
That's right. Hey, I want to do some cross-plugging while we're at it.
Ah, yes. Go ahead. Cross-plug away.
Myself and my brothers, one of which is your father, have started a Engineering Fatherhood podcast. So if you enjoy this fine production, we included a Sports Minute for Dummies from, the man himself here, Zach, so that we have kind of a little, brothers in podcasting kind of thing going on. And the site for that is engineeringfatherhood.wordpress.com. Similar to the Spew the Snews, we'll cross-link them on the sites as well. So if you enjoy that, you'll enjoy this, and vice versa.
Cool. And we'll have to try and figure out a cross-section for you to do a little, maybe you can do like you did a little bit with Molly's soccer game. She scored a goal. You can have a little bit of a sporting father moment.
Sports. Oh, I got a million of those. Right. Because what we need is more material.
Well, when we finally get good at this, or let me rephrase that, when we finally get better at this, we'll be able to put in a segment of like a minute or two, and it won't really be that big a deal time-wise. And
you, the listener, can say, "I knew them when."
That's right.
We will be
really.
We will be selling buttons on our store that says, "I listened to episode 1 in October of 2011."
Yep.
All right, Zach. That was some excellent news spewage.
Thank you. And you were an excellent sports dummy.
Yeah.
And I mean that.
Good at.
I mean that both in the way of you were an excellent sports dummy, as in you didn't know what you were talking. You were the tabula rosa that needed to be filled, and you also were. I must say, I know this is going to happen, and I'll say this to everybody listening. Uncle Mark, Mark's going to surprise a lot of people in that by the end of this season, whenever. A couple weeks, months, whatever, into this podcast, will not be the sports dummy anymore. He'll just be, a sports fan.
All I need now is to actually get some time to actually watch some football games. I watch a lot more kids' sports than real sports. Let's just say that.
It's not always a bad thing.
No, it's not. Like I said, hey, my own daughter scored a goal. That's different than your fantasy football team, baby.
Oh, yeah.
That's the home team.
That's a real team. That's your real team, not your fantasy team.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, join us next week. What was that?
I just was going to wish you a wonderful week.
Oh, thank you. You too. Wonderful week. I will see you tomorrow night, though. Talk to you tomorrow night. What was I going to say? I had a wonderful outro. Oh, yes. Join us next week. We'll talk more about...
Sorry. Because I knew where you were going with that. I'm quieting up now. Here you go.
Okay. But join us next week when we talk more about sports. We'll have our Sports for Dummies segment. We'll go a little bit more in-depth into the news, catch you up on all of last week's football games, and we'll probably talk more about the MLB Playoffs if Nate's here. If not, I'll try and keep that more contained. I won't rant for as long. Mark will make certain of that. And other than that, that's about it. You got any closing comments?
No, I don't. Have a wonderful week. Wonderful week in sports, in the wide world of sports.
Go to spewthesnews.wordpress.com and have a wonderful evening, or good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, whenever you're listening to us. Thank you for listening, and I hope you listen to us again.